Good morning, and we are in section 105. Yes, I've skipped 104 for this time, just because in the Come Follow Me, they kind of do 103 and 105 uh, together because of the messages that are in it. And also, 103 calls for the um, for the Zion's camp to gather together and to go and go down to Missouri. And so that was in February, and then they collect all the people in that, and they leave in May, and they go down just like we talked about yesterday, and now it's June 22nd, uh, almost almost um, what 6 months since they were first told to redeem Zion, as it was, and now they're here, and they're going to get some other instructions. They've been on the road for almost um, a whole month, over a month. So, revelation given through Joseph Smith the prophet on Fishing River, Missouri, under the leadership of the prophet, saints from Ohio and other areas marched to Missouri in an expedition later known as Zion's Camp. Their purpose was to escort the expelled Missouri saints back to their lands in Jackson County. The Missourians, who had previously persecuted the saints, feared retaliation from the Zion's camp and preemptively attacked some saints living in Clay County, Missouri. After the Missouri governor withdrew his promise to support the saints, Joseph Smith received this revelation. So, still having some problems, and he still, remember, this is almost a year after he had learned about, after the first violence, um, threatening their lives and destroying the printing press at that time. And now they've gotten down there. And at that time, Joseph Smith said that he wasn't getting any revelation. But I think the Lord, what I mean by that is that Joseph Smith was sent a letter saying that the Lord seems to be silent on this matter. That was almost a year ago, um, maybe 9 months ago or something like that. And then he starts getting information, more uh, enlightenment, and found that Zion's camp was what was needed at the time. Now, this is those that I'm sure that there are some saints and some of the. It sounds like they met up with some of the members um, from from Missouri, from uh, the settlements there. I don't know how many. They probably were afraid to leave their homes and families, but we do know that some of the members from there were there. Um, Verily I say unto you, who have assembled yourselves together, that you may learn my will concerning the redemption of mine afflicted people. Behold, I say unto you, were it not for the transgressions, he goes right into it here, transgressions of my people, speaking concerning the church and not individuals, they might have been redeemed even now. It's not the first time he's mentioned it this way. Remember, he said that in the um, preface or the Doctrine and Covenants, section 1, he says he's well pleased with the church, speaking under the church collectively rather than individually, that sometimes we as individuals may have a difficult time. Um, and sometimes it's more general. Now, I think of times when um, a ward or a stake or even a mission has had collectively a difficult time. It just seems like even with the faithful people in there, it just is not growing, or it's not. Uh, it just seems like it's a difficult time. I've seen that before, and usually I see them come out the other end much stronger. And that's usually because there are individuals in there that are strong no matter what the difficult circumstances. But where we can keep going, and also there are individuals that make it more difficult sometimes, and we have to look at each one of our situations. I think the Lord is just saying, there are good people, and we can't judge everybody blanketly in one fell swoop and say, okay, they're all bad, because that's not how it is. But behold, they have not learned to be obedient to the things. Sorry, I think I missed that. Speaking concerning the church and not individuals, they might have been redeemed even now. So, because of the transgressions. And now it's important to remember, we've kind of talked about why they may have been scattered and how the people in Zion were not doing what they should be doing, uh, not following the prophet as they should, and the guidance of the revelations. They hadn't built the temple. So there's a lot of things we can say, oh yeah, that's what um, happened, why they got scattered and things. But look at what he says here. He's not talking about the people um, just um, in Missouri. He's talking about the people who they sent out to collect funds and manpower to be able to go and help uh, the people in Missouri. Remember, he asked for 500 people. They had that many that could go, and more, from what it sounds like. Um, but they couldn't reach that many. And when they started out, they had barely 100 people, and then was um, met by another group to make it just over 200 people, which was not even half of what they were asked for. But behold, they have not learned to be obedient to the things which I required at their hands. But are full of all manner of evil, and do not impart their substance, as becometh saints, to the poor and the afflicted among them. So Joseph's seeing this disparity, and the Lord is showing this disparity, that those in the um, churches out that could help them in the different wards and branches and states, which they still have to organize those sort of things. Um, they were not giving them their full support and are not united according to the union required by law of the celestial kingdom. And Zion cannot be built up unless it is by the principles and laws of the celestial kingdom, which, as we see, includes taking care of the poor and destitute among them as one of their prime um, objectives. Uh, Otherwise, I cannot receive her unto myself. And my people must needs be chastened until they learn obedience, if it must needs be by the things which they suffer. Now, I put a note here from the Come Follow Me manual, and I'm just going to open her up here a little bit. Oh, what? Why are we? What happened there? Uh, let's go out again. Somehow it slipped up. Here we go. Must needs be chastened until they learn obedience. Let's see what we got here. Um, what is the purpose of trials? Consider Orson F. Whitney's counsel about the purpose of trials. No pain that we suffer, no trial that we experience is wasted. It ministers to our education, to the development of such qualities such as patience, faith, fortitude, and humility. All that we suffer and all that we endure, especially when we endure it patiently, builds up our characters, purifies our hearts, expands our souls, and makes us more tender and charitable, more worthy to be called the children of God. And it is through sorrow and suffering, toil and tribulation that we gain the education that we come here to acquire, which will make us more like our Father and Mother in heaven. So, the whole point of us doing this is that we can become more like, more Christ like, more like our Father in heaven. Um, I speak not concerning those who were appointed to lead my people, who are the first elders of the church, for they are not all under this condemnation. Again, he's separating the fact that some are doing what they should. And remember, these first elders of the church are consecrating so much of their time and effort to do these things. And but I speak concerning my churches abroad, for there are many who say, "Where is their God? Behold, will he deliver them in time of trouble? Otherwise, we will not go up unto Zion, and will keep our monies." So they've been asked to donate, and they've been asked to um, uh, volunteer, and yet they're saying they their God uh, isn't with them if they've scattered them or whatever. He's saying, "Where's God?" We'll wait and see if they redeem Zion before we use our money. Now remember, they were supposed to get 500 people. They got less than two, or just over 200, less than half of what the Lord asked for. That was only part of it. They were also supposed to get money that would help them as well, both in legal fees and in property acquisitions and so forth. And as we talked yesterday, I think it was, um, there was only 300 pounds given. So hardly even a pound per person uh, in Zion's count, not even a pound and a half per person. But Zion's camp themselves um, collected, oh, I can't remember, but it's something like over 1,000 pounds. So the people who are actually going on Zion's camp collected a lot more money between them than all of the rest of the members of the church. Now, 300 uh, is still a lot in that time, but we also have to realize that almost half of that, not quite, was given by one lady, and I wish I could remember her name right now. I was gonna um, look it up, but I didn't yet. I can't remember how much, but she gave over 100 herself, about 120 or 150. I can't remember. Um, but that meant that all the rest of the people who've been asked to donate only did maybe just over 150 pounds or dollars. Sorry, I keep using pounds. Um, and you get the sense that this is just not good enough. And uh, so the Lord is letting them know. And Joseph Smith also probably felt a little bit let down. Um, Therefore, in consequence of the transgressions of my people, it is expedient in me that mine elder should wait for a little season for the redemption of Zion. So, after all this, they have to wait for a little season. Now, whatever the Lord thinks a little season is, it seems that we still haven't, as far as the lands are concerned, haven't redeemed Zion too much. It's amazing how much the church owns now anyway. There, we're just not saying, hey, everybody go and live in Jackson County, Missouri. But they have a lot of properties of the places like the temple ground, the where the temple um, had been the um, cornerstone had been laid and so forth. They have those areas, but they're not settling there. There are members in Missouri, um, but they're people from Missouri that have been baptized usually. Um, so it's whatever we think redemption is, it's not how. Uh, if we're thinking that it's everybody moving to Missouri, then it's not well. It's not going to happen because it wouldn't all fit there. And so, whatever they think that land is for, um, I think they've done what the Lord wants them to do with it right now. Myself, um, that they themselves may be prepared, and my people might be taught more perfectly, and have experience, and know more perfectly concerning their duty and the things which I request at their hands. This cannot be brought to pass until the elders are endowed with power from on high, which is going to happen when they build the temple. For behold, I have prepared a great endowment and blessing to be poured out upon them, inasmuch as they are faithful and continue in humility before me. Um, Therefore it is expedient in me that mine elders should wait for a little season. There's that word again, a little season, a little while, a little season. For the Lord doesn't seem very little to us. For the redemption of Zion. For behold, I will not require at their hands to fight the battles of Zion. For as I said in the former commandment, even so will I fulfill. I will fight your battles. So maybe the Eastern churches was thinking, well, let him fight the battles. That's basically what they're saying. But he also asked them to gather together. Wouldn't it be more interesting if over 500 people had gone? Maybe 1,000. Maybe they were really gung ho and says, why stop at 500? Um, and they all go down there, and instead of having to fight, they just see the miracles like a river swelling so that the enemies can't come upon them, and other things like that. Okay, so um, behold, the destroyer have I sent forth. That is a little bit of a tangent, I guess, on just what would have happened if they had. I like to think if this happened, what would have happened? What might have happened? Behold, the destroyer I have sent forth to destroy and lay waste mine enemies, and not many years hence they shall not be left to pollute mine heritage and to blaspheme my name upon the lands which I have consecrated for the gathering together of my saints. Now, in that I think was fulfilled more abundantly after the saints had left uh, and during the Civil War. Some of the worst battles were fought on these lands. Um, and a lot of people died then. I find it, it's not, yeah, great, they got what they want type of thing. It's more sad and sorrowful because a lot of innocent people, just as we may say, um, the church as a whole, but not individuals. We may say uh, Jackson County as a whole, but not individuals, are the ones that did this sort of thing. You don't. You don't wish these things on people, and we shouldn't be glad for anything like this. I'm just saying that it does seem that this was fulfilled, at least in part, in that um, in the next 30 years, after the saints had been safely in the Rocky Mountains and totally out of that war. Um, Forgot where I was, if I'm on 16 or not. Um, let's read 15 again. Behold, the destroyer I have sent forth to destroy the lay waste mine enemies. Not many years hence they shall not be left to pollute mine heritage, and to blaspheme my name upon the lands which I have consecrated for the gathering together of my saints. Behold, I have commanded my servant Joseph Smith, Jr., to say unto the strength of the house, even my warriors, my young men and middle aged, to gather together for the redemption of my people, and throw down the towers of mine enemies, and scatter their watchmen. So that was the commandment that we read yesterday. But the strength of mine house have not hearkened unto my words. He's again saying this could have happened, but you didn't do what you're supposed to do. But inasmuch as there are those who have hearkened unto my words, I have prepared a blessing and an endowment for them, for they if they continue faithful. And that is what we see. Some don't continue faithful, but many um, go back and live exemplary lives. And as we already know, the majority of the apostles are picked from this group, and all of the 70 are picked from this group. Um, and they did have a blessing and an endowment as the temple is done. They, especially, I have heard their prayers and will accept their offering, and it is expedient in me that they should be brought thus far for a trial of their faith. Remember what we just said about how it makes them grow, um, and the things they learn um, when you have hardships. Nobody wants hardships, but so many times I've heard people talk about um, going through a hardship and um, then saying, well, I wouldn't have it any other way because I wouldn't have had all the experience that I have now. And now, verily I say unto you, that as many as have come up hither that can stay in the region round about, let them stay. And those that cannot stay, who have families in these, let them tarry for a little season, inasmuch as my servant Joseph shall appoint them. For I will counsel him concerning this matter, and all things whatsoever he shall appoint them shall be fulfilled. And let my people who dwell in the regions round about be very faithful and prayerful and humble before me, and reveal not the things which I have revealed unto them, until it is wisdom in me that they should be revealed. Basically saying, stop boasting to your neighbors that you're going to take over their whole land and everything. Just be prayerful and humble and be good neighbors. Talk not of judgments, neither boast of faith, nor mighty works, but carefully gather together as much as in one region as can, and consistently with feelings of the people. Meaning, just be good neighbors and do it in a good way. Don't start boasting. One of the problems was they're boasting, yeah, we're going to kick you guys out because we're going to be the favored people here. But they shouldn't have done that, and he's telling them, don't do it. Be good neighbors. And behold, I will give unto you favor and grace in their eyes, that you may rest in peace and safety, while you are saying unto the people, execute judgment and justice for us, according to the law, and redress us of our wrongs. Now behold, I say unto you, my friends, in this way you may find favor in the eyes of the people, until the army of Israel becomes very great, and I will soften the hearts of the people, as I did the heart of Pharaoh, from time to time, until my servant Joseph Smith Jr. and mine elders whom I have appointed shall have time to gather up the strength of my house, and to have sent wise men to fulfill that which I have commanded concerning the purchase of lands in Jackson County that can be purchased, and in the adjoining counties round about. For it is my will that these lands should be purchased, and after they are purchased, that my saints should possess them, according to the laws of consecration, which I have given. And after these lands are purchased, I will hold the armies of Israel guiltless in taking possession of their own lands, which they have previously purchased with their own monies, and throwing down the towers of mine enemies that may be upon them, and scattering their watchmen, and avenging me of mine enemies, unto the third and fourth generation of them who hate me. But first let my army become very great, and let it be sanctified before me, that it may become fair as the sun and clear as the moon, that her manners may be terrible unto all nations, and the kingdoms of this world may be constrained to acknowledge that the kingdom of Zion is in very deed the kingdom of our God and his Christ. Therefore, let us become subject to her laws. What some amazing, powerful words there. Um, he wants them to be sanctified, but he wants them to do it in the right order, in the right manner, um, with the right attitude. I hope we can do our work and think of how we can help the poor and the needy as well around us, that we may build up Zion in our own places and communities. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow, maybe.